Welcome, Sasha.
Thank you.
I'm thrilled that you're here.
Me too.
Just to give everybody a little history, we know each other for forever.
Forever.
I know you in several ways. One, that you're an incredibly talented, not just stylist, but visionary as far as what will be or what can be. And the other is I had the joy of collaborating with you on your wedding gown. That was
The
so
greatest
much fun.
day.
That was so much fun, and I'm so happy you're happily married.
Yes,
because
30 years.
Stop it.
And I tell you every year, I said, just so you know, we're still married, we still like each
Yes.
other. It was such an important day, but made even more so because of this incredible design that you came up with.
Well, you definitely. This was a collab for sure. It was really fun. But what I'm really, really so happy to talk with you about is something that I've been talking about and feel is important to talk about, and then you wrote such a powerful piece to an Instagram that the minute I saw it, I had to get you to come and do this podcast with me, and this is what it is. So I'm 74, so you're still
insane.
a baby in my eyes, right? And at 74, I feel so unencumbered by my hormones, by insecurities, by feelings of what's going to happen next in my life, because I've transitioned through my 50s, my 55s to 60 to 74, and I feel freer now. Mm-hmm. I feel more confident now. I'm definitely smarter now and capable of doing things in a way that gives me tremendous power. Mm-hmm. That yes. I actually never felt as powerful before. I never felt weak, but there were times when, going through menopause, going through changes,
right.
Going through some life situations that are very hard for women.
Yes.
And my goal in this lifetime and my purpose in this lifetime is to tell women, get through the shit, because when you get to the other side, there's a world that opens up to you that's about tomorrow, that you absolutely don't know when you're going through it. But the important conversation is, I'm explaining the promise, but I know I need to also have conversations with women who are going through the process, right, and are at their wits' end, they're pissed off, they've had enough, and you, God bless you, are so, you were so raw and vulnerable and honest that you spoke for millions of women around the world. Millions.
Thank you.
And I didn't want that to get lost. I wanted that energy and what you were talking about to be documented in this conversation.
That's great.
But I'm prefacing it by saying, Sasha, when you get to be 74, I know you will be talking about the power too and passing that along too. So your process now is very important to talk about, but the promise is really extraordinary. Give me your hand.
Aww.
Okay, so
yeah.
What were you thinking and what prompted you to write this incredible piece?
Oh, thank you. Well, I just turned 55. I've been an open book for most of my life. It's my upbringing, which is theatrical, so it's always dramatic. And really, between my mother and my father and my stepmother and everybody around me, really giving me so much support and knowing that I'm always going to be my own person. I never cared what anybody thought about what I wore, what I looked like, how I felt. I always wanted to make people happy. I didn't want to do anything disrespectful. But I just was always an open book about everything, about infertility, about actually getting married young, just about any type of thing that I was going through. And I didn't really have a platform for it until social media came around. Mm-hmm. And instead of poo-pooing it, which a lot of people do, and I understand why, I also understand that it gives you a voice. And a lot of people have told me, you need to just keep talking. Because in the way that you frame it, because what's great about Instagram is that you can frame your thoughts. You can edit it, you can figure it out, and not kind of go on a ramble. You can write your stuff out, and it kind of lives as a little box, and you put it out there. And I really felt that those words that I was feeling was what everybody was feeling but afraid to say anything. Mm-hmm. Because what I realized, and I only realized this basically like 5 years ago when I got laid off, I actually celebrated that. It was an eye-opener for me. Mm-hmm. Most people don't feel that way. They think it's the end of the earth mm-hmm. and your life is over. But it was actually a total rebirth for me. Yeah. And we're talking almost like really about when social media starts to really explode. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to take a totally scary, crazy moment and turn it into a positive thing. But then also say, there's a lot of, and I can say shit, right?
You can say whatever you want.
But there's a lot of bullshit out there. And I was reading about all of these things and how upset people were and how angry people were and how jealous people were. And these two were fighting against each other on social media. And just talking about what they didn't think was fair, what they didn't think was right. And so I took all of that and I started to kind of critique it and make sense of it. And what I was really beginning to really get upset about was that you have all these amazing people, all these amazing women that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, but they don't really look at you on social media until you're 90 with contracts and whatnot. You really have to be, 2 steps away from the grave, and then suddenly, oh, she's iconic, she's wonderful, let's do a line. But I really felt that my entire age group, because our asses aren't firm and our stomachs aren't flat, and we're the group that actually spends the money, takes care of the household, did everything right, and we're totally ignored. We are totally ignored by. In the industry that we're in a creative industry, we're ignored by, ads and things, and until you're much older, then they pay attention to you. I was mad because I had a 30-year career in magazines, which I'm still in magazines, but it had completely changed. And I just felt like, where's Land's End? Where's this one? Where's that one? When you're reading about all of these massive companies that are, going to all of these new people who have I'm not going to say that anybody's platform is bad or wrong, or it's great that it exists, and then it gives you something to say. Well, so-and-so is doing this, this salad, that, whatever, oh my God, what the fuck? That's one of those bloggers. Mm-hmm. They have a voice. I can communicate with them, latch on to them, and then I was expecting that some great company would call and say, "This is great. We need to use you." So what I was getting was, "This is great. Here's 10% off on our site. Buy this, and we can use your social media to promote our product." And then you're reading about all of these things about people that are making millions and millions and millions of dollars. And I just thought, where are all these people? And then I realized that they just don't know how to deal with our age group. They don't know how to handle it when your ass falls down.
My thought about this is, first of all, 50, and this is a fact, is another sort of like a Saturn return. And just like 30 is a big switch in a woman's life. You have these life experiences and you learn major lessons for the first time.
Right.
For the first time you realize there are problems in the world and you're an adult and this is your problem and you have to deal with it. How you deal with it will define who you are.
Right.
Then when 50 comes, it's a similar thing, except now you've had this life experience and it's up to you to reinvent yourself.
Right.
It happens to every woman. It happens to men too, but every woman at 50 or before or a little after or 55 have this powerful impact that they had nothing to do with, but happened to them. Sometimes their husbands leave them for somebody younger.
Right.
They lose their jobs, and their kids leave the home, and all of a sudden it's like, who am I? What am I doing? I had the same transformation. So at 50 is when you take a look and say, now who am I in the context of this world that exists that is also going through disruption?
Right.
Right?
Right.
So you're having your disruptive event, and then the world is having its disruptive event. And you have to be so uncomfortable and so angry that you make a change. And that you make it happen, you make the change. So for you and for people in our industry, whether it's fashion, beauty, film, where the visual is so important and the symbols of a brand are so important.
Yes.
I think, and my theory is fitness, health, beauty, but sleep, diet, exercise, number one.
Yes.
And that's the baseline for what I learned. So when in 1993, 95, I turned 50. So in 93, I started a transformation for myself.
Right.
And so much has to do with inside of you and you. And getting the power in yourself and dealing with that. Because everything else that you know, people younger than you have to wait. They have to get there to know what you know. Everything that you can reinvent and that you can do, they can't do. So you have this power.
Yes.
And now taking that power and reinventing it. You're on the edge. You're on the brink of getting what it is that you need to do.
Yes.
It's just you're a hair away. But the power comes from inside. Inside. You just lost your father. He's with you.
Yes.
He's totally with you.
Yeah.
He's going to help you through this,
Oh,
obviously.
absolutely.
And so now you have to indulge in you.
Yeah.
Stop thinking about other people, helping other people, doing things for other people. Be invested in you 100%.
Yes.
And I believe, and which is why I started NORMALIFE, I believe that there are tools to make this happen and to make you start thinking about yourself, because women give, nurture,
Right, they take care of everybody and forget about
all
yourself.
All of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I've been doing for everybody else, and what about me?
Right.
So the most important thing women have to do, and even earlier
Yeah.
Like in your 40s, starting at 35 actually, in your 40s is preparing, what am I doing for myself? What am I doing for myself? Adding, adding, adding. At 50 and 55, there are things, there are rules.
Yeah.
And you must do this, 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 and this. And of course, I'm going to give you 20 rules. And I'm taking you on. But that's the big door opener. Because I hear, and I know how brilliant you are. I know, I mean, I've seen, I know what you're capable of doing. I know that when you feel that inner power about yourself, the shit you're going to come out with, the stuff you're going to think of is just going to be incredible, and for the population that are dying for this.
Yes.
Dying for this. So for me, if I hear anti-wrinkle, anti-aging,
I'm gonna.
again,
Are you gonna punch somebody?
Yeah,
I'm gonna punch someone.
and so this is the last bastion of
Right.
where we have to be politically correct everywhere else, but it's okay to
Right.
treat women or anyone disrespectfully because of age. So last night I was at this event. And two women photographers that you know and you've seen for as long as we've been in business were at the event taking pictures. I was so happy to see them.
Right.
I couldn't wait to hug them, to see them, that they're still there. They were the pioneers. They were at the end of the line. And I said, oh my God, you guys have been the pioneers doing this. And they said, look, they treat us like shit. We're at the end of the, and I thought, oh my God. This is so infuriating. And so we need to scream about this. And
Yeah.
you have an incredible vocabulary to be talking about this.
Yes.
And so I brought you here for a couple of reasons. One is you will be the most articulate for
I'll try.
this. No, you will be. But I also want to jump on you about taking care of yourself and
Yes.
and being so indulgent
Yes.
that your power will come from how you feel about yourself. And I promise you, you will be unstoppable because you have it. I feel it. And I think my generation, your generation, and this age group from 45 on need strong people, strong women, helping them
help them through.
So I know my ability. I know what I can do to help women, and I know what you can do to help women through this. But this is the age group. So think about all of the specific stories that have to do it. So you have a job for how long, right? You talk about your career and the things you've done.
Well, I started out in show business, and I was a singer and a dancer. Well, no, I'm sorry. I was a singer, and I moved well. That's what they wrote. She moves well. And I acted. I was around theater people my entire life because my background is my parents met in West Side Story on Broadway, and and then just my dad was a director, and so I went into the business. And my mother, who was a dancer, she said to me, you're too practical for show business. And I thought, what? You bitch, what are you saying? But she was right, because I always wanted to work, but not necessarily. I just thought all of this nonsense with grading your acting and all of this stuff that was going on. I went to NYU,
right.
And I just thought it was ridiculous. And she was right. I mean, I really felt like I needed to do other things. And I met my stepmother, Jade. I was 13. And so I knew then that I needed to go into magazines. I wanted to be an editor. I didn't know what it meant, but it looked great.
Yeah.
And it was very sophisticated and chic and elegant. And I just felt, I want to be part of that somehow. And so I did all the stuff that I needed to do for my dad, and I, graduated from NYU with the theater degree and blah, blah. But I said, I'm going to go into magazines. This is what I'm going to do. And that was at 21, and now I'm 55, and I'm still doing it. I've worked basically everywhere except for like car and driver. I mean, I think I've been everywhere. But I've always, it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about any type of fame. It was really about producing beautiful work that meant something to someone. I know a lot of editors do things for themselves.
Or for other editors.
Yeah. But for me, when I was at 17 magazine, I was told from Midge Richardson, who was my editor-in-chief. She was a former nun. She was an editor-in-chief. She was amazing. Yeah, she worked at Glamour. And then she met this guy, and they got married, and she was fantastic. And then she went to 17. And she told me once, if you're not doing this for your reader, then what are you doing it for? And that was it. I needed, and I loved to hear things from people, get over my shit, and then start to absorb and listen and learn. And that was a big part of, I think, why I have longevity in the business, was because I loved to know every single thing that I could know. Curiosity, learn, and be trained by the best people.
Yeah.
And I had, thank God, that opportunity, because that doesn't happen often. But my first boss was Marina Schiano. Rest in peace.
Oh my God.
She was at Vanity Fair. I was her second assistant. And I was only there for 9 months, and it was just like a crazy story how I literally got fired for breaking, I had a fever. It's always I had a fever when I was delivering something to someone. Carolina Herrera's dog, a little dog biscuit chipped, and Marina lost her shit. And that was it. It was over. But she taught me everything about what not to do, which was probably the best first lesson. So from then on, I knew how to be respectful. I knew how to listen. I knew how to learn. And I knew how to align myself and propel myself to, take on the great jobs, work with the great people, get all of this together. And, and each job was different. Each job just made me move up and up and up and up. And I just felt so empowered. And, again, was trained by the best people. And still, I'm at CBS Watch now. CBS has a magazine. And that's where I'm the style director. And I'm so excited to, still be doing that. And then also having this kind of crazy internet voice where I just tell it like it is. I mean, one thing I learned when I did get let go, laid off, because there are all these terms now, I thought that everybody knew everything. That women knew everything, how to dress, what to do, where to go. And it opened my eyes that people really need help. And not to be condescending in any way, but they really need somebody to hold their hand sometimes and just say, we're going to figure this out. It's going to be okay. Because this type of stuff that you're fixating on about denim cutoffs and what size they are and how your hair looks and all of that, it's really not that important. It can be fixed. It's really easy. And that's what people like us do. We don't help the fantasy. We just make it a reality. And show people what they're capable of doing, what they can do, and that it can be done. And I feel like, the more that I can, and then also in my personal life, kind of show people that, it's a challenge to do this. It's a challenge to do that. Every day, I'm glad that every day somebody says, how are you doing? And I said, I'm vertical. I mean, I'm really happy I'm a really happy person.
Which is being positive and being happy and not holding crap in is really helpful. But I think it's important that we do talk about your personal life because, you talked about how long you've been married.
Yes.
But not just married, like you guys really love each other. You really know you have a soulmate.
Absolutely. But we also like each other.
Yeah.
We like being around each other.
So how many years now?
So, well, we've known each other. We'll be married next year for 30 years and known each other for 40 because we went to high school together.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
And so for many women in your age group, it's the end of the marriage.
Right.
There's a high number
Yes.
of that's the end, and now what do we do? What's my identity? I met my soulmate at 65.
Right.
So that's another thing I say. It's like everybody's timing is different.
Yes.
Everybody's soulmate match is different. You met yours before you should have met them, and
16.
I met mine like when I should. Like it's different for everyone. But being married and still having that security of having a best friend that you can trust is a powerful support system.
Yes.
So talk about what it's like to be married. Every day can't be perfect.
No.
So how did you navigate a marriage, being in fashion and having this sort of crazy life?
Well, luckily, we were both in show business. So, you know, my husband was an actor, Broadway kid. We had a lot of common things. And we went to two separate schools. He went to Syracuse, I went to NYU. We maintained the relationship. I'm 2.5 years older. So that was weird in high school.
Yeah.
But I knew, and my mother always tells me the story. I knew when I met him. I walked into her bathroom, because we used to meet in her bathroom. She had this huge bathroom. And we would sit, and I'd say, I met a boy today. His name is Willie, and I love him. And that was it. It was like a thunderbolt. And I just felt, this is the guy that I'm going to marry. And this is the guy that I want to spend the rest of my life with. And, you know, and we just kind of made it happen. I think a huge, huge part, well, two things that were very important. We were married a very long time before we had kids.
Oh.
So we had 10 years together.
Great.
And that is a huge...
Great.
You know, it just makes so much of a difference because we had time together and we didn't feel, because a lot of my divorce friends they were so stressed about getting married and keeping up with the Joneses and being
having
with their friends and having kids right away, and you don't know each other.
Yeah.
You really just don't.
So true.
But that's hard to say to everyone. This is, you know, but we felt like we were doing the right thing, you know, and then around, I guess it was 5 years, then the infertility issue became an issue. And that's when I realized that it wasn't going to be easy.
What year was this?
So I was pregnant at 38, so 5 years before that. So it was a struggle to figure out what was going on, and I tested. I did a story on Harper's Bazaar about
And this is
blood
earlier
tests.
than what's going on now.
Right, because
So
I have 17-year-old twins now,
Wow.
boys, who are going to college next year. And so, yeah, and it was taboo. Nobody talked about it. Also, I was in an industry where nobody talked about it. But another part of who I am is that I was always talking about it. But that's very difficult for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's just because I just had the strength and I didn't care what anybody said. But everybody was amazing. But they didn't really understand the struggle.
Yeah.
Because it hadn't really come out and had become
People still hesitate to talk about infertility, and people definitely don't want to talk about aging.
No.
They don't want to be connected with that. And so it's very interesting. A number of people have been saying, we think you should be the spokesperson for this because you are 74 and you can talk about it. And I thought to myself, well, people don't know I'm 74 if they meet me, so why would I want to start saying, have straight out of the box,
oh, hi, I'm 74,
or
and
that
Norma.
that's my conversation. And so I thought, that's so weird. And then I thought, you know what? I have to. I
have to.
I have to. Why shouldn't I?
No,
Why shouldn't I
exactly.
say I met my soulmate at 65?
No, I think it's so inspiring.
It's so helpful. And what you're saying, too, is that the open conversation, the honesty, just gives people a break.
Yeah, you need a break.
Yeah.
You need a break.
Whether it's infertility or going through 50 to 55, people do not appreciate, women do not have a handbook on what it's like to go through puberty.
Right.
And all of a sudden your breasts and you're bleeding and like, oh, what the hell, what the fuck is really like, what is happening? Nobody tells you. I remember my mother handed me a Kotex pad and I thought, what the hell am I supposed to do with this?
Right, put it on my head.
I thought I
what
had
am I doing?
internal bleeding because I fell off my bike.
Right.
And then 50 comes, menopause comes, perimenopause. Where's the handbook? Where's the, well, I need to know. And so I've been interviewing doctors who are specialists on women's issues so that you can refer to that. This is okay, this is what's going on, this is how you get help. And having more conversations. But having these conversations are really important.
Yes.
So that, okay, that's what's going on with me.
Right. Well, also, people can look at you or me or whoever and just say, oh, I look like that. Maybe this could be my life. I think people, you know, it's a lot to expect people to be open and honest about everything. I think it's very, I know that when I had the infertility situation, that I felt like I was damaged goods and I didn't feel good about myself for about 2.5 minutes. I mean, I literally allowed myself 2.5 minutes to have like this little party of pity. And then I said, all right, I got to get to work because time's running. But that's like the really unfortunate thing about being a woman. I don't understand this. So men can like screw till they're dead, till they're almost dead. Okay. And I mean, they can have, you know, strange children when they're, you know, really old, but they can do that. But we get shut off. And I really don't understand a lot of that, but there is a reason.
The beauty now is there are young women, and I speak to many of them, who say, I don't want to get married now. I'm not ready to be married. I need me time. And, but I want to have children. So many are freezing their eggs and not feeling the pressure. And if you don't meet your soulmate, and you want to have a child, you can do that now. And so I think that that conversation is also another very comforting conversation. It's still not an easy process to do the egg thing, and it's still, you do sort of go through stuff with your body, but the ability to make that decision about when you have these children or how you do it is such a big relief, and it's not based on a clock or that women can't be in charge. So that switches the game in a much different way than when you were realizing, oh, I can do something about this and I'm going to do it.
Yes, but it was very, you know, I was with so many women who it didn't work. They went through several rounds. I mean, it's really hard. And then it's hard to accept reality. And then just say, okay, if you want to have a kid, okay, now I'm going to think about adoption. A lot of people can't do that. They just can't get their minds around it. And on one level, I understand it. And then, you know, on another level, I just wanted to try to see. And everything was, let's try and see. And I had the support of everybody. Let's try and see if this works. And, you know, I will try to do this. It worked. First cycle that I did, which was amazing. Very rare. It doesn't happen for everybody. But I had an incredible doctor who everybody should know. He is incredible, Alan Copperman. He just diagnosed me on the spot, and that was it. Bing, bang, boom. We knew what we needed to do, and it worked. But the other thing that I was thinking about, too, that you and I have, is that, which a lot of women don't have, are incredible genes. So sometimes
But-
when you have, I have an extra layer of skin because I'm a quarter Filipino, a quarter Austrian,
Oh my goodness.
a quarter, now I'm Ukrainian. I didn't realize, I thought it was Russian, but now so I'm Ukrainian. And then Austrian, and no, that's it. No, German. I think that's what it is. And it's, so I have, I don't have the skin, I don't have the hair of what 55 looks like.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people, I don't think any of us really, at this go round in our lives, look our age.
And that's another question. What does 74 look like? What does 50 look like? They're really, unfortunately, the number still has a connotation, but what does age look like? And one of the things that I talk about and especially interviewing these doctors, and of course my own sort of process through 50 of this doing this fitness health and the sleep and diet and exercise, is the change that you can make just by getting a good night's sleep.
Sure.
So in the pie of sleep, diet, exercise, 50% is sleep.
Right.
And people don't realize that you just can't put your head on the pillow and think you're going to go to sleep.
Right.
From the minute you get up in the morning, everything you do will affect the kind of sleep you're going to have.
Right.
So how many cups of coffee, how much caffeine are you going to have? The news that's finally getting out is that alcohol could not be worse for women. And because this sort of thing about you have a glass of wine, it's healthy for you, one glass. No, more and more news is coming out that alcohol has such a detrimental effect, and the fact that there's so much sugar, and we know sugar is bad.
Right.
And so there are these simple things that as you go through menopause,
Yes.
that you cannot do. You don't want to be sweating in the middle of an important negotiation.
Right.
You don't want to feel taken down by your whole psyche going through something while you're having a conversation.
Right.
You don't want that, owning
Right,
it.
right,
and
right.
So sleep on its own
is important.
one of the best things you can do for yourself. And there are more people in the population can't sleep or have problems with sleep. And there's a whole series of things you can do to get to
Yes.
that good night's sleep. And it becomes a ritual that you have to respect.
Yes.
And again, it's like, I'm going to take care of me.
Yes.
And how you sleep affects how you eat.
Right. How you eat, when you eat.
When you
Yes.
eat, how much you eat.
Right.
We all eat too much food.
Right.
If we ate great food, completely changes your sense of well-being, and then you sleep better.
Right,
and,
right.
And then working out, anything
Yes.
helps you with the way you eat and the way you sleep. So it's this sort of combined pie that can really give you a tremendous amount of power.
Sure.
And for me, I believe genes have something to do with it, especially when it comes to skin.
Sure.
But there's no getting around the fact that you can feel stronger and
Yes.
feel more empowered when you feel healthy and good
Right.
and strong. And I know when I go to the gym and I do something that I never thought in a million years I could do. I mean, I remember it was probably like 10 years ago, the first time I did a split in my life. And I thought oh my God, I can do a split.
Yeah.
And then I could do a standing split. And then and every time I made progress like that, I was transferring that new power I had to my attitude about everything.
Sure.
Whether I was negotiating with someone, hey, you don't know that I can do a split. You don't know.
No.
I can do a standing split.
Right.
And that in your head, so not that those are the things, but it's these symbolic things you do for yourself that sort of feed the psyche to give you this power.
Yes.
And yes, genes help, but even it's just even the most challenged people with genes that are not as good,
Right.
that everybody in their family died very young and all of this.
Right.
You don't have to be owned by genes that aren't.
No.
You can change that because many of those things are because of lifestyle issues.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I think that all of that stuff is incredibly powerful.
Yes.
And it's great to have gorgeous hair and it's great to have good skin, but it's possible for everybody.
Sure, it's not everything.
Yeah,
it's really like
possible
what you're
for
saying.
everybody.
It's just like what's inside.
Yeah.
If you're feeling good inside.
Yeah.
That's
So if you could think about what you would change in the
getting my neck back. Like I could lose this right now.
you can get your neck back. I can help you get your neck back.
Yes, because actually your videos
You just tell me
neck exercises.
you just tell me if you want me to participate. I will write a plan for you.
I would want you to write a plan for me.
Specifically for you.
Yes.
And if you promise 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Just 8 weeks.
Yeah,
But
I would do it.
it's not a diet plan. It's not a it's a lifestyle plan.
I mean, I think I would definitely do that. And I think just getting to your point about...
And then we come back again.
Right, and revisit this and see how my neck is doing.
But it's not your neck. It's not your neck. It's because, like you said, you could get away with whatever.
Well, true.
But it's more than your neck. It's more. It's saying, I'm going to do for me.
Yes.
I'm taking your kids are going to college.
Yes.
You right now are on that. You're right on the edge. I saw it in your Instagram. I said, I'm going to push you right off that edge to go fly.
I want to do that. And as a matter of fact, also what you're saying is that I think we do need a book of instructions. And I think that we all, as women, love to get directed.
How do you do this?
Right, and you just read because the good thing about being over 50 is that we all read. We still love to read. We don't text as much.
Yeah.
We do it because we need to keep in touch and communication with what's going on, but it isn't. It doesn't define us.
Right.
But we love to read, and anytime that's why, like any type of challenge that I've had in my life, has basically been having a great director and then having an instructional.
Right.
And I think that everybody listens to that and loves that.
So, in the 80s when my friends were all dying of AIDS, and I decided I was going to figure out why their immune systems were challenged. Why can that be the immune system? And this is like right after Studio 54, so it's not like the world is curious about healthy lifestyle. And so I hunted down, which meant going to the library, by the way, because I did not have Google.
Nobody
and
did.
I researched and did a lot of research, reading and trying to find out. And I found people in the Southwest and the West who were really discovering new concepts about an integrative sort of healthy lifestyle and what that meant.
Sure.
And I had no idea. And so I would go to these retreats and literally take courses and come back, and nobody wanted to hear what I was saying. That you're a cuckoo. Like, you shouldn't tell people that's what you're talking about. And
yeah, but that's what happens to pioneers. That's like, it's a hard,
So from that,
Yeah.
from all of that information, I started to try to bring it into my life and
Sure.
change it and practice it. And I still couldn't share it with anybody until 9/11, when I opened the Wellness Cafe.
Right.
And then people started to come out of the woodwork that were very knowledgeable, very informed.
Right.
But there was still no information that you could readily get.
Right.
And even today, I find the podcast is so helpful because people listen. They can do other things
Yeah.
while they're listening.
Well, and they can keep it on their phone, and then they can keep it with
And
them.
reference
They
it.
don't have to always, they don't have to have a book on the table
Right.
or something on the laptop.
Right.
Right.
But having a schematic to follow, and I've done this
Yeah.
with people, and I did it for myself.
Sure.
I know how to do this. I know how it'll work because I experimented on me.
Right.
And I'm always experimenting. Right now, I never did yoga. And
Right.
everybody thinks, oh, she's a Zen yoga. No,
Right,
that's not
right,
me. That's
right.
somebody else.
Right.
And so because I was more energetic and I wanted to do circuit training and all of these other
Right,
things.
right.
And then bar, I realized, was so great because I could make my body look the way I want. I could
Right.
shape.
You could sculpt yourself.
I
Yes.
actually could see in 4 weeks, in 5 weeks, in 8 weeks, oh my God, who is this? This
Right,
is great.
right.
I feel good with my clothes off. I feel fantastic.
Right.
Then I started to think, okay, there are different exercises that do different things. Well, yoga is something I've added, and gyrokinesis. These are things I've added because having good posture is super challenging for
Yes.
everyone now with our phones and
Yes.
as you get older, because you start shrinking
We
down.
shrink,
So
yes.
you need to have this
Lengthening,
pulling up.
lengthening,
And
yes.
so bar does that, and obviously yoga is amazing, but yoga is also great for balance.
Yes.
And to be able to balance as you get older is really incredible because every
Yes.
year as you get older, your ability to balance is harder.
It gets harder. Yeah, my mother has dementia, and a lot of the reason why she falls all the time is not, and she was a dancer,
Yeah.
is really just based on the fact that she is imbalanced because of the dementia.
But it's not just dementia, it's the aging
And
process.
the age, she's 87,
Yeah.
so yes, and it's
But
the
it
aging
starts
process.
it starts
Starts
way
earlier,
before
of
that.
course.
So so out of all the exercises I do, what is the most challenging for me when the sweat just pours, it's not doing heavy cardio,
Right.
but it's anything that has to do with balancing. So
Right.
every morning I take 15 minutes of doing balancing because I have to work on that. So
Yes.
once you know what your focus has to be
Yeah.
at any time in your life, then the amount of time you would spend on doing something that has to do with work or whatever, or like I could spend forever at work, but I pull myself out and I say, this is for me.
right.
And so in the morning I do that, then I work out an hour a day or more if there's something else, and it helps me
Right.
get my power back.
Yes.
Again, it's all about owning the power and saying to yourself, this is what I'm doing, I'm going to do it for me. So it's part of these plans
Yes.
that I can easily figure out because I'm
Yeah.
constantly going through
Right.
the process myself. So for somebody in my age group, I would say, this is this is the plan.
Yes.
This is a plan you need to think about every day.
Yes.
And the more extra time, if you're just cooking, do a tree pose. If
Right,
you're
right, exactly.
Just incorporate that into everything you do so that it becomes your power. You're now great at it.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
So I feel great. I can do a split. I can do all these things.
Right.
But now my ability to be balanced is getting stronger. And I was feeling very concerned about it. And now it's like, oh, wow, how cool is this?
Yeah.
So I think for everyone at any age,
Yes.
there's something you can do. There's some aspect of this power that you can give to yourself that then comes out and people get, and you get things done in a way that, and also you attract people who understand you respect yourself.
Yes.
And then they respect you.
You, right.
When you have a weakness and you're aware of it, and other people don't know what it is, you project that.
Yes.
And you attract bad men, or like
Right,
the wrong mate, or whoever it is. So we do attract what we put out.
Yes.
So when women say, "Oh my God, I keep meeting the wrong guys," it was like, well, what are you saying about? Like, what are you doing here to say, like, you don't deserve me, so get out of my space?
Right. So it's right, exactly.
So it has to do, I think, with everything at every point in our lives. So, that 30, when you're 30 and you discover, oh my God, I'm an adult and I have to behave like an adult, and you get that persona.
Yes.
The same thing happens to 40,
40s,
50,
50s,
60,
right.
and to 70.
Well, I think also a huge thing is that I think we're all exhausted. And I think once you can just say, I'm really tired. I'm tired and it's okay. I am so tired. Stop. Yes.
Yeah.
And then trying to figure out a way to
be inspired.
Yeah. Yes.
See, tired,
and
the reverse of tired is inspired.
Tired.
So you all of a sudden will not be tired if that happens.
But I think it's also just everything that's just being thrown at you. There's so much. We used to have a brain capacity to remember 80 phone numbers or so. I don't know anybody's phone number. I really don't, right? So now it's just so much stuff that's clogged in your brain. Another thing that I think is so important is focus. And I think that has a lot to do with what you were just saying. We just need this is so therapeutic for me right at this moment because I'm not looking for my phone. Mm-hmm. I can look at you and actually have a conversation.
Yeah.
Which is
and how about
rare.
This? When was the last time somebody held your hand and looked you in the eye that wasn't your husband, a family member?
I can't even tell you.
So one of the things I talk about also, and that's part of my whole thing right now.
Very smooth hands.
Well, that's because thank you for promoting my product.
Which I use and I love.
So, but the reason I said that is also because when somebody loses a job, right? Mm-hmm. So say somebody texts you and I just lost my job, I feel like crap. The fact that you can go to their home and say, I'm going to use this cream and give you a hand massage and tell me what the fuck happened. What happened? How did that, and that you're touching another human being because we have our phones in our hands. We're not touching each other.
No.
We're expressing our emotions through emojis.
Yes.
Where we really, really, really need that physical connection, that spiritual connection that you have when you look someone in the eye. So holding somebody's hand and looking them in the eye is in many ways deeper than sex. It's a commitment because we kiss each other like this and we hug, but we're not looking.
And it's a connection. I mean, it's a connection to someone.
And it's
because you can't. There's no emotion in a phone.
Yeah.
There's no. Yeah.
So for our and I'm putting you in my generation,
I'm not,
unfortunately.
thank
but
God. I want to
but
be
I'm
in your generation.
I'm in
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that post-millennial or pre-millennial generation. The touching really was part of our early years, and for the 70s, for me, we were all draped all over each other all the time.
I know.
And it was definitely incredibly supportive
Yes.
because your friends were family viscerally.
Yes.
It wasn't just, I have deep connection to this group of women and we talk and do things, but no, we touched each other, we hugged each other.
Right.
We would have our
Embrace,
arms around
yes,
each other.
yes.
It was sort of the normal thing. And now I am so concerned that we're not connecting physically
Right.
in so many ways. And I think it's also a good time to reconnect with men this way, because right now they're so afraid of their own shadows.
Sure.
And the process had to happen.
Yes.
And we took a lot of shit for
Forever.
the life forever,
Right.
since caveman. But I think women are willing to give men another chance to connect again, and it's like scorched
Right.
earth. We can start all over.
Right.
And have kindness between men and women, and kindness just in general. But
Sure.
I think that's really an important thing that can happen right now.
Yes.
In the way we all look at bringing that back. I
Yeah.
think Gen Z will do that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because my sons are 17.
Gen Z.
And we really have many conversations with them. When you meet somebody, look them in the eye.
Yeah.
What's your handshake like?
Yeah.
And don't twiddle your thumbs or do something else.
Or start looking
at your phone. Really be engaged. I mean, it comes from us. And if we're not telling them what to do, then it's mostly
Yeah.
our fault. I mean, or at least that's how my husband and I feel. That if we're not training them and telling them, because they don't know.
No.
They really don't know. So, but
It's their handbook for their life handbook.
Exactly. And we're so grateful. I mean, they're great. And we can put them out in the world, not be embarrassed or, feel, because a lot of kids are not that way.
Yeah.
But it took work. And, but I think it's very important to reconnect and for it to not feel like that you're doing something wrong.
So talk a little bit about the fact that now they're going off to school, and you really have an empty nest.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts about that? And I'm sure you know other women who are.
Yeah. I mean, we're sad because we realize every day this is going to be the last this thing.
Yeah.
Or that thing, or whatever the hell it is. But we're also kind of excited because all these things that we have in our hands. We're excited because it is like it's just us again. And, we did great. Everything's great. And we can focus on actually going away and not being worried every 5 seconds, when the phone rings or what. I mean, I think we're always going to be a little bit
always parents,
like that. We're always parents. Yeah. And we've always been parents. We're not best friends. We're not to our kids. We're not our first names. We're mom and dad. And other names that they've nicknamed us lovingly. But we have really been parents. And I feel like, I think we did a great job. We can not be so embarrassed that they go out. And we can reconnect. And we can do things that maybe we didn't do before. But we can do them with a different set of eyes. And that's what's been really exciting on every level, especially when they were babies. Because when you're a baby, you don't know what's going on. So you get to relive this moment through your kid's eyes, and it's great. So every year has been just really like a blessing, good or bad, for us. And we actually are looking forward to this next phase, we know we're going to be working, so it's not like we're going to travel the world or do something really crazy,
Yeah.
like go to Disneyland or whatever.
But I think that's
yeah.
great. I mean, see, you're fortunate because you are still with your best friends.
Yes.
And that balance you have is really, really helpful. But it's also a time when now women can present themselves with this power,
Yes.
again, I say, and attract
Yes.
the person that they deserve.
Yes.
Not some, okay, I've got to get married by this age, gonna have kids by this age. So he's here, looks good to me. He's got all the mechanics. We can make this work. And present in your head that he's the right one because you have an agenda. I think now when women are at this age where they can say, you know what, I'm gonna be so deep in me and indulge in me so much that reflects out, and I then attract the right person for me.
Yeah, well, I think if you're centered,
and even friends, the right friends.
Sure. I think also a huge part of a good thing about what has made us work is communication. We have a really, and we worked on that. Mm-hmm. We really worked on it. There were a couple of years where we would just kind of make noises and sounds, like, rah, 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 And so I think that we have that. That is so key to everything, but really to this marriage that we have. Mm-hmm. And that if I need some time to just go decompress and have a latte or just do like a yoga pose and not have to listen to anything, I can communicate that and he understands it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you have to, like we've been saying, you really, it's your time to do that. You're in control of your destiny and what it is that you want, and you've done all the right things. Mm-hmm. And it's okay. Mm-hmm. And it's okay. They're really,
But there is and
it's very difficult.
But you absolutely have your soulmate, and that is something some people won't have. I didn't think I would ever have, but and you can't tell when that will be. But preparing yourself for the best for you, always brings better people and better environment, and fortunately you've had that. So our follow-up to this is, I see they're here telling us time's up.
Uh-oh. I could sit here all day and look at all the hats.
But I think our follow-up to this is, I'm so anxious to see where you go with this conversation and what the possibilities and what you can do for women who are needing to have, some experiences that they could follow. I know that your Instagram post was so raw, so deep, so beautifully written.
Thank you.
That you're at that point. I said she's on, like she's ready. She's gone. It's like a hop, skip, and she's there. And if you want to do my plan, I
absolutely want to do your plan.
I will design it just for you. Yeah. And because I think the power you can have in influencing, especially because you are about truth and you are totally raw and you are not going to edit and protect and do all of that, is what women need right now.
Yeah.
And that will be just amazing. So I want to help you.
Thank you.
Be that voice, because I have my voice in it, but I think having more voices, the more numbers of us that are out there, the more we can help this whole thing about aging. And aging can be done with power.
Yeah. And it can also be done with somebody who is, like you said, highly influential. Because when there's someone like you who's really, I said the pioneer, who really just knows women, knows women's bodies, extends beyond what you were doing. It's more than designing. It's more than all of this other stuff. To be so influential and so inspiring is so important.
Yeah.
And I mean, and for a lot of women, and I don't have it all figured out at all. But that's also the great part. I mean, that's what life's about.
So I think the process and how we go through it. And I, I found this incredible woman on Instagram who's 101 that I follow. And I find so inspiring.
Yeah.
I look at her and I think, that's me. Oh, that's so me. That's me. I see that. I visualize myself at her age being the same energy she has, and so that's what we need to do. She's pulling me forward, and we can pull other people forward, and it's what we have to do. So we're going to follow up with this.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.